Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Ryan, and we are Heavenly Hills Homestead. In case you don't know who we are or what we're about, we like to homestead. We like to grow stuff, tons of different things. We like to grow over 80 different varieties of tomatoes, over 100 different varieties of peppers, tons of giants and stuff like that. We just like to have fun. We like to grow. We like to teach. We like to learn, and we like to bring you along. So follow along with us today as we go through our late June garden, if you can call it that. And let's talk about some things that we're going to be doing this year and what we're doing this year. All right, guys, so like I was saying, we're going to be talking a lot about what we're doing this year, what we're going to be doing, and how we're going to be improving on some things, some little trials that we're going to be doing just to play around, and why we're doing them. So first off, we're going to stop right here in the main patch for our giant pumpkins and talk about this and go in depth and the thought process behind it all for this year. Okay, guys, so here is one of my plants. Yes, it needs weeded, so to speak. Those are weeds. I was trying to let some of the other stuff take off and grow, and it just isn't happening. Cover crop is specifically what I'm talking about. A lot of cover crop that I have down there, and we got the whole patch done like that. But anyhow, I do need to get in here and weed all this out, so we'll be doing that in the next day or so. But this is the 1009 Cook. There is two plants in here, and one of them's going that way, one of them's going that way. We'll have to weed all this out. Probably do that today so you guys can get a better look at this plant, but it's doing pretty good. It's late, very, very late. And so like this pumpkin right here, we're just gonna pop that off because we don't need it right now. It's too little of a plant, it wouldn't do anything. We're starting to get our secondary growth coming on. You can see here, we got a good secondary here. Small, 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 small. I don't know what's going on with this plant. It's been super hot, all right? And the heat has caused a lot of problems for me and my patch. So here was the thought process behind everything this year. I wasn't going to plant any giant pumpkins in this patch at all. I was just going to plant cover crop and let the field pumpkins have it and let the field pumpkins do what field pumpkins do, which is grow big, big field pumpkins. But after some careful consideration, I did decide to put the 1009 Cook in here. Now, there is two of them here. One vine is going that way, one vine's going this way. And if you look at them, which you can't right now, I would think that this one was the better one, okay? Because it's got a bigger mane on it. It looks bigger and better. It's probably longer. But this one here has caught up and took over, and I've got big secondaries coming off of it. So this one right here will probably be the one that we stay with. Now, I did think about letting both of them go in here, growing one out that way, one out that way, because let me tell you, we're not at a record-breaking season this year, okay? We're not setting no records this year. Ain't nothing going on this year. Was way too rainy and wet and swampy for the first half of spring into summer, and then the last half of spring into summer, it just dried out, bone dry, wouldn't rain. I was literally watering the patch every 4 hours. I was coming out here watering every 4 hours. I'd water for 4 hours, move, water another section for 4 hours, move. Every section got watered at least one time a week for 8 hours. All right, that's how dry we were, and still could not keep the patches wet and going. everything was slow. Everything was just like, meh, can't do it. The heat's way too much. We're 90, 95. And even with shade cloth up on some of these things, it just was not happening. So I was just like, you know what? I don't want to fight with this year. I've got way too much going on, and I've just let everything kind of go. All right. Well, if I'm looking here and I'm being honest, let's talk about this plant. And there's going to talk about the other one too. There's another plant I want to talk about. No one's ever grew, to my knowledge, 2 plants out of one hole and produced anything of any size. So since I'm not breaking any records this year, which I never break records with my pumpkins anyhow, why not grow 2 out of one hole and see what happens? Because then that's 2 1009 cooks that I can breed to 2 different plants, one 1501 Vanderweilen, another one I can grow and do the 1610 Labier. And then next year I can take those 2 seeds, grow them, and cross them together, all right, which would be very cool. All right, so that's kind of the thought process behind growing this plant. Now, I may end up cleaning this all out today or tomorrow, which I'm probably going to do it today, cleaning all these weeds out and deciding to go with just one plant, being this big long one right here that you can see the secondaries popping out through the weed coverage. I don't know that I would. Like I was saying, I'm borderline with it. I kind of want to do that, but I don't know for sure just yet. So kind of holding off. We'll see what happens, right? I'm going to walk down through here real fast. Like I said, need a lot of weeding done. I didn't think all these weeds would pop up because I had planted a bunch of stuff to try to keep these weeds from popping up, and they're still popping up. Cover crop only, I guess, helps so much. So anyhow, right here we've got some plants. Of course, we need to weed this, even though I didn't want that being thickly covered right there. For some reason, all those seeds got real thick right through here and then didn't get so thick up through there, and I don't know why, because I planted them to make sure they covered all this, and some reason it was, I guess the rain or watering must have just washed them down this way. But anyhow, got to weed all this away from these plants here. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Well, I thought I had one here somewhere. Must have got took over. Where'd they go? Well, there's supposed to be one here, I thought. Yeah, there's one there. And should be one here somewhere. Not that far apart. So we'll have to look for it. Anyhow, need to get in here and weed all this. Of course, these aren't weeds. A lot of this is cover crop that I've put down. We got a lot of seeds coming up for more cover crop. I'm just trying to put as much cover crop in here as possible, because my thought was if I rested this patch and only grew, you know, stuff like field pumpkins and butternuts in this patch this year, then I could let it rest from the giant pumpkins, grow the smaller ones in here, give it a good cover crop like you guys can see, and till it under by fall, put another cover crop in and till it under, and be doing some good stuff. All right, that was the thought process behind all this cover crop and stuff that we got growing through here, because I did notice a huge difference when I tilled under that big cover crop at the beginning of the month. You know, when I had the 3-foot tall turnips in here, I noticed a huge difference in how the soil started reacting and how it started to loosen up and do. And so I thought, well, if I put the cover crop down ahead of the plant and I just till it in ahead of the plant, it does 2 things. It does, 1, it helps me to control the weeds, all right, which I don't want weeds in here. 2, it helps me to help the soil become more loose and broke up, so then next year I can plant my giant pumpkins back in here and have had 2 cover crops, no, actually 3 cover crops in here. The one that I grew, that I tilled under, this one that I'm growing now and will till under as ahead of the plants, and then have a 3rd one that will be grown before next season. I'll grow one in the fall into next season and have 3 cover crops ahead, you know, before I've planted any giant pumpkins in here. And hopefully having that will have helped the soil enough to where I'm not getting compaction like I was. The reason I didn't want to grow in this soil this year is because I was getting so much compaction. Now, you also have to take consideration, I have put loads and loads of compost in here, more than I care to mention. And that has helped the soil. It has helped a lot. You guys can see up through here, it's really, really fine tilled, like, you know, it's nice. But I just didn't want to plant pumpkins in here this year. All right. The other thing is my wife, she's been having some issues, health problems and stuff. So I wanted to give her a break. She said she needed a break. I said, okay, I'll give you a break, you know, because it's a lot trying to keep up with everything, you know, whenever harvest time comes. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot to try to do. So she said she needed a break. She wanted a break, and I said, okay, no problem. I'll not plant nearly as big a garden this year. And I didn't plant nearly as big a one, and I let the pumpkins have the garden area, which is right here. And so we'll go ahead and talk about this first plant that we're coming up on here. This is the 665 Cook, and we have got 2 pumpkin plants growing out of this one as well. Now, here's the thing. Let me go up here to the top of the patch so I can kind of explain this to you all a little bit better. Whew, man, it's real muddy. We got lots and lots of much needed rain last night. Very thankful for that. We definitely needed it. All right, let me see up here. So, there's 8 foot between each pole. All right, roughly 8 foot between each pole. And what I wanted to do was give this plant 16 foot wide, 25 foot long. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, well, I went 8, 16, planted, 8, 16. All right. Well, that's 16, that's 32 foot long, 16 aside, and 25 long. So I made a boo-boo. Instead of 16 foot long, all right, 8 on each side, I went 16 on each side. So I said, well, I was talking to my buddy Jason. I said, well, why can't I just go on ahead and let 2 plants grow out of one hole? Because they're both doing really well. I mean, super, super well, the plants are. You can see them right there. They're looking great now. Only plants that I haven't had any heat problems or any kind of compromise by, you know, by the sun has been my 665 Cook and the 1009 Cook. They wilted for maybe a day or two, come out of it and done great. The 2271 Vanderweilen and the 1501 Vanderweilen are still covered up down there, and they're having problems with heat. They wilt every day. But anyhow, so it's 25 foot long, 16 foot wide. Why can't I just grow 2 out of one hole, and we'll veer them off? One will come this way, one will go this way. They'll still have 16 foot, but they're, you know, we're not going to give one plant 32 foot wide by 25 foot long. So why don't I do that and see what happens? So that's kind of where the thought process come from for that 1009 down there. All right, now I'm kind of borderline on whether or not I should do that with this 665, but both plants are doing so good and looking so good, I really having a hard time calling one of them. And a 32 foot wide plant by, you know, 25 foot long would do pretty well producing a pretty big pumpkin, and I could get a, you know, I could do pretty good with that. You know, I mean, I could probably push a pretty big fruit, you know. So I'm kind of teetering with cutting one of them off. I just don't know which one to do. And there's not many of those 665 seeds left. And the other part of this that I could do is just like I was talking about earlier with the 1009, I could pollinate one of these with the 1501 and the other one with the 1610 LeBeer, and have that cross both ways as well. So it's just something I'm thinking about. I don't know what to do with them yet. I'm not at the point where I really have to worry about it just yet, because the plants are, like I say, they're just not wanting to grow very well just yet because of all the rain we've had. Now it's starting to cool off a little bit here now, and the heat wave's kind of gone. We've gotten some good rain now, and you know, everything should be good and stuff. They should take off like rockets. But we're still going to see. We're still at a late July pollination date, all right? And I've never pollinated late July. Well, I think I pollinated July 15th one time, or maybe July 20th, and ended up with a 1,000-pound pumpkin. But, you know, it is what it is. Anyhow, next thing right here that I wanted to talk about is my 1610 Labier. So this right here is a different kind of plant, and we're not going to talk about that plant right now, but just know that it's got plenty of room to grow and do whatever it wants to do. This plant, however, is a 1610 Labier, and I planted it here because I was going to let it grow and do its thing, and then I wasn't sure it was going to make it and pull out of its little funk that it was having, and so I was going to let this plant take off and do its thing. And then they both started doing good, so then I was like, all right, well, whatever, the more the merrier for these types of plants right here. Well, let's just talk about it. I've got 5 green squash plants going, so and they've got room to do whatever they need to do. This plant right here is solely for pollination, and here's the reason why. We're looking pretty good here, you know, everything's doing pretty good. Okay, then all of a sudden right here it splits wide open. You see that split right there? You guys can see it's bad, right? It's split real bad. And then it goes and ribbon vines on me. All right? Made a bad ribbon vine. Look at that thing. It's like a triple ribbon vine, right? Well, I was getting ready to fix the ribbon vine, and that's why I said I was only going to pollinate with it. And when I went to go fix the ribbon vine the next day, I was talking to my buddy, and I told him, you ain't going to believe this, but I don't have to do a thing, because it split off on its own. It literally split on its own and did its own thing. Now this one right here is still ribbon vined. All right, so we're gonna have to cut that off. I only kept it just to show you guys that it literally did itself. It split itself. I've never seen a ribbon vine split itself off, okay? But it did. It split itself off. You guys can see here, perfectly right there, right? Single vine right here, single vine right here, turns back into a ribbon vine right here. All right, so it did go back to a ribbon vine, and I will cut that one off, but I just wanted to make this video because this is super cool. I've never seen one go and split by itself and make that kind of a vine, but it did. It split itself off and did that. And it had this one stayed a single, I would have literally let these both grow and do its own thing. But since it went back to a ribbon vine on that side, I'm going to cut that side off, let this side grow. And the only reason why like I said, the only reason why I'm going to let this grow is so I can use it for pollination. That's going to be it. So, yeah. But this is a 1610 Labier, very hard seed to get. It's a 1161 Rhodanus times self, and that's the reason why I'm using it, because my 1161 Rhodanus did not pollinate. So, or did not germinate, excuse me. But yeah, so we'll end up cutting this off because it went to ribbon vine, and then we will let this grow for pollination. So there's that. This one right here, again, it's going to be another giant green squash. I'll probably give it 40 foot that way, if not more, and let it do its thing. It's a 1317 McDonald, I think is what that was. All right. Like I say, we need to weed and stuff. Let's go down here and talk about some more of the pumpkins down here, because I've not given you guys an update on anything, and I think y'all deserve one, right? Like I say, things are crazy around here right now, and we're just kind of taking it one day at a time. So here's the 1501 Vanderweilen. It's finally taken off and running, and it has got 16 foot to go, and it also can go 25 foot long. So there's that one. It appears that the 2271 has, oh my goodness, what has happened down here? Oh my God, what in the world has happened? We have had major flooding down here, and it has washed out into my neighbor's yard. That is not good. Anyways, we've got the 2271 right here, doing pretty good, looking pretty good now, finally. But I'd already went and planted a backup beside it. So yeah, I don't know which one to keep now. We have got flooding that has absolutely flooded over into the neighbor's yard. Wow, that is not good. I don't know why it done that. Why did it do that? I guess it just waters so much that it just shot down through there, and it just, wow, what a mess. What a mess. I did not know it was doing that. I've never seen it do that before, but it sure enough did. It gutted it down through here and right out. It washed it out. Yeah, like, my gosh. Hit that corner down there and covered up everything. Goodness gracious. Well, we'll have to fix that, I guess. But anyhow, yeah, man, that's crazy. All right, so here is my 150 square foot plant. This is the Hatton, the 1848 Hatton, and I don't see not one, and I mean not one secondary off of this plant. So this plant has been has had it rough. I don't know why it's been so finicky. It's been very, very suppressed by the heat, and I don't know why it's been so suppressed by the heat. This plant has hated the heat. No matter how much water I've given it, no matter what I've done to it, and that's just the way they are sometimes. Sometimes plants, I've even heard people coming back and talking about my plant, not, the 1009, not liking the heat this year. I've not had any issue with it, but other people have in Virginia. And so, I mean, I think it's just genetic traits per seed. You know what I mean? You never know what you're going to get. But this one is a pretty pumpkin. I know that much. And so I'm gonna grow it out this way, out into the yard. I'm gonna curve it, just like this right here, out into the yard. All right. And we're gonna grow it right out here because I'm not getting any secondaries off of it. And it's a cover crop again in there, and I gotta till it under again. But this one right here is a 1533 Rebe that I started from seed in the ground, and we will let it grow that way. And it's the same length, same width. So my 150 square foot will grow this way now, and then we'll pollinate the 150 with the 1845, or excuse me, we'll pollinate the 1533 Rebe with the 1845 Hatton. It's just not getting any secondary growth here. I mean, you can see every node is just kind of like meh, Now, I mean, if it starts to put on some secondaries, we'll see. I might have to give it a shot of phosphorus. I might need that. And I've got plenty of phosphorus here. I got some 0480 I could give it and see if it don't pump it, but I think it's just because it was stressed. It was just not able to put off what it needed to for secondary growth. And it's probably 6 to 8 foot long right now. I mean, it don't look that big, but it is. It's every bit of that to the, from right here where it's put into the ground. I mean, it's every bit of 6 to 8 foot long. It's somewhere in between that range. So anyhow, yeah. So there's that, and what we're doing with that. So we got a lot going on, and it's been a wild year. We'll have some other stuff getting planted over here in this stuff. I've took all the rocks and everything out of here and stuff, and been getting them piled up and either using them for stuff or getting rid of them to people who can use them for something else. We'll have some tomatoes growing, just various spots, and peppers growing in various spots. That's why we're putting up our raised beds and doing all that stuff as much as we can. But yeah, it's there's a lot going on here. So we're just going to try to improve the soil this year. We're going to try to improve on some other things. We're going to play around with some ideas, just to play, just to have content, just to try things out. And I'm not saying that the season is a total loss, because it's not, but we're just gonna have fun this season. We're not gonna push anything or try to do anything special. We're just gonna sit around, have fun, let God grow the plants, and just sit back and relax. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Whatever God allows or whatever God gives us is what we're going to go with. If plants don't really want to make it, we'll let them do whatever they can to cross the plants with, and we'll let the other plants that are doing good fill in. You know what I mean? We'll just let them take over and fill in that area, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to stress about it. I'm just going to do the best I can with what I got, and I'm going to have as much fun as I can while I can for the summer, because summer will be over before we know it. And I'm not going to stress or worry about it. That's why I've not been making a lot of content, though. That's why I've not been doing a lot of stuff with the garden this year, is because there's just too much other things going on, right? Too many other things. It's much more important than growing giant pumpkins or giant anything, and yeah. And so we're just gonna make the best of it, and we're gonna do the best we can with what we got, and have some fun while we're doing it. Okay. So at the end of the day, if I get a big, nice, pretty pumpkin, 100, or excuse me, 1,000 pounds or whatever, great. If I don't, oh well, it was fun trying, and we learned, and we grew, and we built up our soil and organic matter in the soil, and whatever, right? So that's all I can do this year, is just try to improve on the little things and do whatever I can, and whatever we're left with at the end is what we're left with, and I'll be thankful and happy for whatever it is. So anyhow, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the little update. I hope you guys can understand what the thought process behind some of this stuff and what we're trying to do, and hopefully it'll happen. Hopefully it'll work out, and yeah, and we'll have some cool stuff at the end of the season. And if we don't, well, we tried. So guys, we appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time right here in the Hollers and Hills of West Virginia.
Don't forget to smash that like button, that notification bell.
Good job. Here you go. Thank you. Don't forget to share. Yep. There you go. Good job. And subscribe.